Hello and welcome to a breakdown special report. With no match to cover this week, I've delved into the archives instead in search of reminders of what made the 2003-04 Invincibles such an irresistible attacking force. Let's see what I found. This Arsenal side were fast, seriously fast, and that's what made them a goal-scoring threat wherever they were on the pitch. Counter-attacking was a key ingredient to their success, and they did it very, very well. But not just because they had tremendous pace, but because throughout the team there was a hunger to score goals and to pile men forward whenever they sniffed even half an opportunity. This Arsene Wenger side broke at pace and with numbers, and I have to say they were simply brilliant at it. Opponents were also frightened of Thierry Henry's threat in behind, but because Dennis Bergkamp and others dropped deep, drawing defenders with them and clearing the space, it was still extremely difficult to stop. The Gunners weren't afraid to be direct when they needed to be either, scoring many goals with long balls over the top into space for Henry to chase. Because they had such an appetite for destroying the opposition, this team's natural athleticism was such a destructive weapon. The Invincibles may have started most matches with a 4-4-2 type shape, but the system was so fluid it rarely stayed that way. With two men holding in central midfield and a forward player dropping deep, occupying the space between the lines, the formation resembled the 4-2-3-1 we're used to seeing at the moment, but they were anything but predictable, and that's because the movement was so well thought out and clever. All the time we'd see players take up unusual positions where they were difficult to mark. Because of this simple but bright thinking, it undid so many opponents. Thierry Henry loved to occupy the flanks at times. He'd drift out to the wide areas and switch positions with Robert Pires at times, and the pair of them were simply unstoppable. On occasion, we'd even see both front men vacating the centre forward zone completely, and this allowed the wingers, Pires and Freddie Ljungberg, to come inside and cause unexpected carnage in that critical middle zone. This Gunner side were as mentally sharp as any I've seen down the years. The current Gunners side loves to win the ball back high up the pitch, and that same intense pressing game was also a feature of the 03-04 side. Together they'd hunt in groups of 3 or 4, working ever so hard as a unit to regain possession. Then, once that happened, they'd individuals with a real ruthless streak that were determined to make sure those endeavours paid off. Closing down with 100% intensity is one thing, but this team also had the ability to spring fresh attacks in an instant, swooping to score as quickly as they could the moment they grabbed the ball back. It was this killer instinct and that willingness to move forward at pace that really set them apart. As a group, they were absolutely merciless. If midfielders don't make runs in support of the strikers or take gambles to burst into the box, they can be easy to play against. The Invincibles knew this, and they were anything but. Throughout the season we saw midfielders busting the gut to make forward runs, and it paid off handsomely for them many times. Whenever a ball went forward, somebody would take a risk and make that run from deep, and they didn't do it slowly either. They made that run with aggression and with speed. Rarely would you see a man pass the ball and stand still. Instead they'd shift it and then sprint forward so that they could get into a position where they could score a goal. Arsenal's final goal of the season, I think, typified the midfield's desire to get forward and get their names on the score sheet. This time, captain Patrick Vieira took it upon himself to be proactive, getting on the end of a pass and scoring a wonderful goal. Runners from deep really are a defender's nightmare. Most goals are scored from close range, and the class of 03-04 put themselves into these positions more often than almost any other side I've seen. Whenever crosses were flying into the box, 3 players were invariably piling into the box, hoping for the ball to fall at their feet. And because they'd raised the percentages, because they'd filled the box, invariably it did. Crosses are whipped in, it's so difficult to accurately find just one target inside the penalty area, but this team made sure that wasn't a problem, because regularly we'd see 1, 2 or 3 players flying into the box to try and get their head onto the ball. It's amazing how often you can reap the rewards by getting into those danger zones. It just maximises your chances of scoring. I think this is something that the current squad can learn something from. What can we tell from Arsenal's 73 goals in that amazing season? Well, as you can see, They were extremely varied. Of those scored inside the penalty area, many came on the end of free-flowing moves, from balls over the top and from crosses too. But what stands out to me is the lack of long-range strikes that were required, and also the effectiveness from counter-attacks and from corners and free kicks too. When you can put away half chances like that, as this team did regularly, you're always going to be in with a chance of scoring goals and winning trophies. A lot can be learned from watching how Arsene Wenger's Invincibles went about their work in that unforgettable season. They flooded the penalty box, they mixed up their game well, they had countless runners making runs from deep, and when they attacked with intent and with speed. Yes, Thierry Henry scored 30 league goals, but it was still a real team effort. Having studied the footage, it's little wonder to me that this team were invincible.